on the previous episode of the 1991 Marin Bolinas build. We assessed the bike's overall condition and found some issues. Discovered that the bottom bracket was notchy and indexed, then had a big fight removing it. Removed this heinous front fender and stripped the bike back to a bare frame. In this episode, we're going to be focusing on preparing the frame for the build, so we're going to start off by giving it a real thorough clean. In this bottle here is a combination of a car shampoo and a little citrus degreaser, so get it clean using that to start with, get all the grime removed as best as I possibly can with a microfiber towel and cloth, and yeah, make it as clean as possible. Whilst the general vibrancy of the paint is very good still for a bike of this age, the top tube is showing some signs of scratches from like feet knocking it over the years, so I'm going to go straight for some hard T-cut to cut the paint back to remove the scratches on the top tube. I was really impressed with the way the paint reacted to the T-cut. It's quite a hard paint, I think, so it didn't cut particularly easy, but the result was really good, so I'm going to use it again on the frame in a bit. There's an awful rusty mark on the seat tube where the band clamp for the front derailleur was corroding away, causing this rusty mess. At this stage, I'm not sure if the tube has gone rusty or it's just like rust transfer from the front derailleur that was rusty, so I'm going to use a bit more T-cut to see how much of it I can remove. But as you can see, the T-cut barely made a dent in this rust patch, so I'm going to move on to a harder product, which is a magic sponge. Now, I wouldn't really recommend this, but at this stage I'm confident the rust is not actually in the bike, it's transfer onto the paint from the rusty band clamp. So yeah, I'm going to work up my way in hardness and aggressiveness of the tools I'm using to remove this rust. So the magic sponge did a decent job, but it wasn't working particularly fast. So the next stage was a Scotch-Brite sponge, which was really incredibly aggressive. I really focused my attention where I was using it, but it did end up removing the rust quite well in the end. And although this did locally flat the paint in the area, I'm going to bring that paint back up to a gloss finish using some polish. I wasn't overly concerned about the very minor scratches the Scotch-Brite was causing on the painted surface. It is a last resort sort of measure, but it's better than a rusty band clamp looking mark, I think, so it's the least worst option. After the great results of using T-cut on the top tube, I decided the whole frame was suitable for giving the whole T-cut over and generally improving the looks of it that way. It's an aggressive paint polish. I wouldn't recommend it for every frame, but this paint was responding really well to it, so I decided to go over the whole bike and give it a thorough T-cutting, and the results were really good, I thought. So after this first stage of paint restoration, I was really impressed with the way the paint was looking overall. It definitely had much more luster and gloss left in it. This isn't the best photo. It's really hard to capture on this like bright luminous yellow how bright and glossy it got on camera, because I don't know, I think the luminous yellow does strange things to the camera. But yeah, it was working out really well, I thought. So yeah, I'm going to continue on this sort of polishing and improvements on the bike overall using more finer and finer products, but we're going to have to work on the forks first because they're going to need the same treatment. There are these two beige patches on the forks that no matter how much T-cut I used, I couldn't get them to remove from the paint surface. I'm guessing they've got embedded in the fork somehow. I'm assuming there might have been a rubber light mounting on here or something along those lines that's sort of etched itself into the paint and embedded itself deep within the surface of the paint. I can't remove it no matter how hard I try. In the next stage of paint refinement, we're going to use some Auto Glim Super Resin Polish. Now this is literally my favourite automotive product. It is absolutely awesome for your car. Just do it once or twice a year, it looks amazing. It's a very, very light polish, and it's got like resin filling compounds to fill in like microscopic scratches, and it just really increases the luster of paint amazingly. I really love this stuff. I couldn't recommend it anymore. But the next problem we're going to solve is all these little rust patches. We've got the bike clean and the paint to a good condition. I want to solve these rust patches and get the bike looking rust free, I think is the best way to describe it. So yeah, we're going to use some rust treatment on the bike next in certain locations, and yeah, get rid of the rust on the bike. The product I'm going to use is this Hammerite Rust Remover Gel. I chose this because it's a gel. You can have the bike in a stand and it will just sit and sort of sit on the rust patch rather than dribbling off. So the gel part of it is really attractive to bicycles, I think. And it's my first time using this. It was a recommendation from one of the commenters, so I did a short and asked some questions and they recommended it. I picked it up from Halfords. I think it was about £8. And it's awesome. It's great stuff. I used it everywhere on the bike after a little test patch, and yeah, it works incredibly well. With the rust taken care of inside the bottom bracket, the surface rust, I gave it a light smear of grease just to protect it, to stop it rusting over again. In my opinion, the front dropouts were the rustiest and worst looking parts of the bike, so this is where I think this gel really shone. As you can see, spread it on with a paintbrush, leave it half an hour or so, come back and wipe it off and the rust is pretty much gone. With a couple of areas on the frame now having raw steel exposed to the air, I didn't want it to go rusty again, and I found some fluorescent yellow paint in my model shop, a little enamel tub. I think it cost £2.50 or £3, so I'm just going to paint this on with a really crappy knackered model brush and use that as a protectant really, and touch up all the little marks. It's not ideal. I think in the ideal world you'd put some white base coat on first, but most of these areas are very indistinguishable or hard to see, or in wear areas anyhow, so I didn't want to undercoat then have to blow in some paint and do it white. It's just going to cause too much effort for me in areas that are hard to see anyhow, so most of this is for rust prevention rather than looks really, but you know, it's just less eye-catching and a rusty orange patch in my opinion. And yeah, just to hide it a little bit. Like I say, in the real world I think it needs an undercoat, but for my purposes for this bike, this is fine. The original chainstay protector is peeling up in a few areas. I wasn't too minded whether to keep it or peel it off, but I decided that I'll try to keep it and use a touch of super glue in some areas to try to repair it. It worked okay, I think. At this stage, I wanted to press a headset into the frame to get an overall feel for what the bike's going to look like and trial fits and bits before I start the build. I picked up this B-Twin headset from Decathlon. I think it was $2.99. It was outrageously cheap, and for that price, it's worth risking, I think. So yeah, we've got a super cheap headset. And with any headset install, I like to go completely mad with the grease. Just grease everything up to the hilt. Just use so much grease, it's unreal. Grease the frame, grease the bearings, grease the cups, just grease absolutely everything and deal with the aftermath, because it's better than having a broken frame. The headset pressed in fine, although I was at the limit of what my headset press or bearing press could do, because the head tube is quite long on this bike. The excess grease was cleaned up, and then I fitted the threaded fork into the frame. It fitted fine, no issues at all, although I do need to get another large spanner to be able to preload the bearings, because one adjustable won't do it. With the frame and forks together, I wanted to give the bike one last going over with another coat of super resin polish, just so it's getting the maximum performance and luster out this paint it possibly can. And yeah, like I say, I really like the stuff. I really like the way it performs. It's easy to apply and take off, and I think the results are really good. I can't recommend it enough. This angle here is a bit better, I think, to show sort of the shine and luster of the bike. Although this is not a particularly good sort of paint colour to make show like gloss on camera. It's really hard to make it show. After the last coat of super resin polish, I wanted to protect it, and I like to use some of this Turtle Wax hybrid ceramic spray coating. It smells a bit funky, but this is literally just a spray on, let dwell for a few seconds, then wipe off, and it gives a real hydrophobic finish to the frame, so it kind of repels water. It also adds another layer of gloss to it, so yeah, it's all looking really good, and this kind of sets harder in a few days time, so if you're not using it immediately, the gloss keeps like increasing. So after all those sort of frame preps and polished, this is what we're left with. There's kind of like a bit of ingrained dirt around the stickers I can't quite get off. I don't know a method of doing it, to be honest. Maybe some like isopropyl or alcohol maybe, but I'm a bit worried it might take the labels up. Overall, like, this is probably the best example of how much sort of gloss is in the frame now. I've got a sort of light underneath to sort of give you some reflections, but in real life it's really glossy. It's incredible. I really like it. I really like the colour. Again, we've got some sort of ingrained dirt there. As you can see, the touch-ups, they look okay. It's not perfect, but it's adequate for what it is. Yeah, overall I'm really happy with the way the frame looks, and I'm ready to start building it now. So that's about it for this video. Thank you for watching. I should have a sort of build. I've got nearly all the parts for the build already. Just got to get some quick release screwers and the seat clamp, and everything else I've already got, maybe a chainring. So yeah, thank you for watching, and yeah, I've got a load of shorts I keep posting up because YouTube algorithm is making me post those for some reason. Like, these videos aren't doing very well at all at the moment, but the shorts are doing incredibly. They're like 10 times more views than this, so if you don't like them, sorry about that, but that's kind of what's driving channel traffic at the moment. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.